Gamers, we got a bit of a hot topic to talk about right now. Bungie just released their Act 2 stream today, and they were talking about what's coming to the game in Act 2 and some even in Act 3. But they mentioned a perk that some people might be overseeing or not really know what it means, and I'm talking about Not Swap. They want to bring this in the Rite of the Nine that's coming in Act 3. Pretty much when you're in these dungeons and you're trying to do the contest version of it, there's going to be a perk activated that is Not Swap. A lot of statements that I'm seeing online too is that people aren't really understanding how this perk's going to work. In my ability, how I read it, if you do any of the swaps that it's telling you not to do, you're going to lose everything. You'll lose your super, lose your abilities flat. So switching surges is good, but if you switch anything else like a special or an exotic, you're done. So that's what a lot of these reasons and a lot of opinions I'm talking about. Swapping exotic armor, kinetic weapons, and energy weapons drains all ability energy. So I was on Twitter and I seen that Dylan was wanting more feedback on this, DMG the community manager, and I said let gamers play how they want. Forcing certain loadouts or being locked into a certain loadout didn't work in the past, and then I gave prestige raids were bad for that because in my opinion they were. Dylan replies, in my opinion this has risk to lead to reckoning style design. Having to further design encounters and bosses around swapping could force it to be required, and that seems a bit rough. If you want a chance at harder content, you need to plan a specific platform that reduces UI load times, and you need 5 loadouts ready to swap during phase 2, 3, and 4 in these specific cheesy safer corners so the Banes don't one-shot you. Bungie had to inflate health and remove cover to account for swapping, so if you're not prepped you shouldn't participate at all. I feel like this is a middle ground as folks could still leverage a couple swaps, but costs do need to be considered. So when I see this, I still think, well, warlocks are still going to be able to pop a well, and they're going to be able to switch to sanguine. Hunters are pretty much going to have to choose, well, do I want to run Nighthawk or do I run a different damage super, because if I swap, I'm going to lose some of my abilities, and sometimes the hunters do need those knives for radiant and a healing nade and even your dodge. Titans really don't have to worry about much because they're so busted. You're just going to run Curus the whole time. You know, it's nice running Skull Fort right now, you know, especially in the solo dungeon run I did. I ran Skull Fort for ad clear, and then I switched to Curus of Falling Star for damage. I understand why he said this. He's just telling people like, hey, some people on console can't swap, and let's just be real here, most players don't even swap anyway. They don't loadout swap. I know this because I've taught raids and dungeons over the years in my career, and some people always ask, hey, why is my damage so low? Why am I only putting out so much damage? They probably didn't have surges on. Let's just say you go do the new Thunder Doctrine and you don't have a warlock. On the final boss, most players aren't stowing armor charges, and what I mean by that is running special finisher with no mods on to drain your armor charges, and then right before damage you would just switch your boots so that you would have triple surge on, so the whole damage phase you will have surges for your weapons. A lot of players don't do that, and I get that. It's not needed in the game. You don't need to loadout swap in any activities you do because players get by just fine. And before loadouts were a thing, we were loadout swapping anyway. Right before damage, we would go into our menus and swap armor pieces and get ready for damage. So adding loadouts to the game really didn't change anything. But I feel like this is targeted to where it's like every time there's something in the game that people are doing, especially like the hardcore speedrunners, they always get attacked by it. They can't double swap, they can't well skate, they can't slug swap with anarchy, and now it's going after loadout swapping. I just feel like it's a way to make encounters more difficult for players. Not really, but it's just like, hey, I want to run my exotic class item for my hunter and have Caliban and Liars up at all times, and then as soon as I get my super, I want to switch to that Nighthawk, pop my super, switch back to my class item, and go punch everything and get my super back and do it again. It's simply because we have that power fantasy while playing Destiny. That's what it's always been about, being powerful. But now it's just like, hey, your role is Warlock, Dent Head. That's another thing I want to talk about, like ammo. A lot of loadout swaps currently in the game right now are simply because ammo doesn't drop well. Thunder Doctrine was a very good example of this. The ammo packs were bugged. The ammo packs you were picking up on the ground weren't giving you the correct ammo, so everyone was starving of ammo. And in that Shrieker encounter, you only had 3 phases to kill them. So if you didn't have ammo, GG. So if Warlocks are on Dent Head and they're marking enemies and making ammo for your teammates, when they go to switch back to whatever else, they're going to lose some abilities. And for a Warlock, when you're going into a well pop, Benevolence kicks in. You want your healing back, your melee back, your Phoenix dive back, so you're healing the team, and also you're wanting to switch to Speaker's Helm. So it's kind of just like, I don't know, I just don't understand why they would go after something like this. And now I did reply to this. I said, well said, swapping loadouts is for ammo is a must in this current ammo economy. Plus players will just stow armor charges with special finisher and swap surges on boots before damage. Hunters now are going to have to run Nighthawk or bust. Warlocks will still sanguine swap. So it's like, it's still there. But again, you know, community's going to start barking. They're going to start saying different stuff, you know, yada, yada, yada. Not a big deal. I think the community is getting it all wrong here because I've read the thread on Dylan's responses. I've seen what other people are saying. I think some people are just like, oh, we don't need a loadout swap anyway. That's only for certain players, blah, 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 blah. Me and my team do it just fine. And that's okay. But the whole point is there's no diversity in the game anymore. There is no build crafting. It's throw on the most broken loadout that you know of and go dominate. I mean, right now, go run a GM, sit behind a barricade on Titan and run Lemon Arc. It just destroys everything. Now it's just, hey, who's going to run this? Who's going to run this? You're going to see a lot of matching loadouts. And if people think that you could just go into a random fire team or an LFG and start assigning roles to players, you got another thing coming. Trust me. I've seen the videos. I've done them myself. People are going to run whatever they want to run, and they don't care. If they know that it's a grenade launcher damage boss, they're going to run a sword and go, hey, this is how I want to play. In my opinion, I think they should focus more on making the content more harder or adding mechanics that makes you do burst damage. Like you only have so many seconds to damage a boss, and then you have to go interact with something on the wall to extend damage phases and to keep it going. That way we're not just standing in a well and just destroying the boss, or maybe we're not. Maybe the boss is mobile like Rulk and sometimes you can't stand in a well, but you get where I'm saying with this. Just bring more diversity in the game so that we have to pick our loadouts, what to use, not penalize us for wanting to do something cool. Like, hey, I'm gonna do this and pop my super and switch to this because I want to, because that's how you want to play the game. I feel like going after the community and telling them, hey, you can't play like that no more, which I can tell you right now, people are still gonna loadout swap. They're just not gonna have their abilities. People are gonna find ways to just completely ignore this mechanic and this new perk, which is not a big deal. But also you have to remember that some people might not be able to play as good now because they're going to have to stay on a certain loadout, or they're going to get bored. They're going to be like, hey, I don't even want to run a warlock anymore because of this, which you should, because Sanguine's actually busted and you're always going to have that 25% damage boost. But you get where I'm going with this. It's just, hey, I used to play like this, now I got to play like this. Don't feel like Destiny needs that right now. We need to have more fun. We need to have the power fantasy. That's what people are doing right now. Bolt charges and melting everything, and champs are just dying and you feel super overpowered. But when you're overpowered, you want the content to be harder too, right? You want it to be more challenging so that you have more fun. But here's the thing, you're going to give us more hard content. You need to make sure the loot is worth it. No one's going to go do something for 20 minutes to get one drop. Destiny fans just aren't feeling that no more. They want to get the easy loot, in and out, find the cheese, do the checkpoint. Hell, don't even do the raid, just go in and grab the chest nowadays, right? That's kind of where we're at with the game. So it's like, we need more build diversity into the game. I think we need more nodes. I mean, look at these fragments. They added more fragments to the game, and now we're having more fun. Bring like a Paragon board into this game where we can select nodes of what we want. Go back to old D1 subclasses where we can customize what we want. We need it to where when we put stuff on, we have more decisions, not just, hey, run this same loadout, call it a day. You know, it's like, your loadouts are saved now to what activity you're doing. If I'm doing this raid, I'm rocking these 3 weapons, and that's it. That's kind of where we're at. Although I've been sitting here ranting about this new modifier, I do think that some of the content, it looks cool, and I can't wait to try it out in Act 2 and Act 3. Let me know how you guys feel about this new addition to the game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.